Hi there, nice to meet you. My name's Tody, and today I am going to be jumping into 642 Things to Draw. This is a really awesome prompt book that I picked up at Books A Million. It was designed by Eloise Lee, and it's just really great for getting over art block or any inspiration problems you're having. This book is awesome just to get some ideas flowing. So this book is really cool because on each page there's between 1 and 4 prompts. And it's just designed for you to pick out and do a little bit of doodling for the day. Again, really great for art block, but instead of that, I thought I would follow in the footsteps of Kasey Golden, who is an amazing artist and YouTuber, and she has the same thing on her channel. She has a series where she draws in a drawing prompt book, but instead of doing a little doodle, she'll create a full page illustration, and they're just absolutely beautiful. But instead of doing a full page watercolor illustration like Kasey, I thought instead it would be really fun to do a comic panel. So since I don't anticipate on doing every single prompt on camera, I just decided to flip the book open to a random page and happened to land on electric guitar and confetti on my very first try. And this was completely by chance. Like, I was so excited when I landed on this because it's absolutely perfect for my drawing style. I love to draw in just a very hyper pigmented, kind of neon, trendy and urban type of style, just very Harajuku inspired. So this was so lucky for me to land on this page. But I just started thumbnailing a couple ideas, some things I knew I absolutely wanted to include in the comic panel, like an electric guitar and confetti. So I just wanted to get those ideas out before I jumped in. And I don't necessarily do a ton of planning when it comes to tiny projects like this, but I wanted to get a couple ideas out before I jumped right in on my iPad. So like I said, my tablet that I'm drawing on is an iPad Pro 1st generation paired with the Apple Pencil 1st generation as well. And it's just a really awesome drawing duo that I use the program Procreate with. I love this program. It is so accessible for beginner artists or even more advanced artists. It's still a really great program. It's a one-time buy, unlike Photoshop. So I think you have to spend like the $9 that it costs in the App Store once, and then you've got it for as long as you want. And it's just a really fun program to use. But I went ahead and I laid down that first layer of the panels. I just laid them in an arrangement that I thought looked really appealing. I don't really ever go in with an idea of what's going in each panel when I do these like tiny comics, but I did know that I wanted to put like a full band shot in the corner in this like long horizontal box. And then other than that, I kind of just wung it. So after I put the panels down, I started sketching in blue. So like any artist that does digital art, one of the greatest features, I believe, is the ability to draw in as many layers as you want. It's so easy to just draw something over and over and over, and I definitely did that in this illustration. I don't know why I struggled with drawing these instruments so badly, but oh my god, I had to draw them over and over. It was like insane. The inner perfectionist in me definitely comes out when doing digital art because you just have the ability to tweak things so minutely. It's like insane. But I just went ahead, and after I finished getting those instruments to a degree that I could tolerate, I went ahead and just loosely sketched out the rest of the drawing. And a couple of the things that you're seeing do change when I go in with the pink line art layer. So like most artists out there, I can definitely say that lining an illustration is not my favorite part of the process. I find it relatively tedious and just very boring and time consuming, especially after I've done that initial sketch layer and I've spent a lot of time on it, so it's just like, ugh, I have to do this again, but I have to be even more precise with it. It's just a pain in the butt. But I do find that one way to make the lining process a lot more fun is to use these really fun and vibrant colors, like this pink that I'm using. I love using this pink for line art. I just think it's so cheery and joyful, and it definitely stands out against those other vibrant colors that I'm using. It's neon, but it's still dark enough that you can really see what's going on with the color palette behind it. So I love using this color. I don't know how many times I can say that I love it, but it's just so amazing to use. So let me get your opinion on this, because in my opinion, I feel like a lot of artists have fallen into the loop of using black line art for all of their illustrations. And don't get me wrong, black is a classic and it will never go out of style. But especially for digital artists who have been granted access to this huge library of color, why would you choose black for every single illustration? It's just become automatic at this point. Like, I feel like you wouldn't choose to color your illustrations in the same color palette every time, so why use black line art for every single illustration? What do you think? I don't know. I feel like black line art is on the back burner for right now. But anyways, I went ahead and jumped into the coloring process, which is definitely my favorite part about illustrating. Generally what I do is I'll take each panel at a time. I didn't really do that in this illustration. I kind of jumped around a lot more, but that was just because I kind of was having a hard time deciding on what I was doing. And this illustration actually turned out to be a lot more warm toned than I had planned it to be, but I went a little pink heavy. It gets pretty hard for me. I love pink a lot, so we went a lot warmer than I generally do, but I went ahead and started coloring everything. And I like to think of each panel as its own illustration. So since I'm using a generally restricted color palette, it makes it a lot easier to make these panels flow, just because I can think of each panel individually and use colors per panel, but I can also know that it's going to fit in the whole illustration. Does that make sense? I don't know, but I just went in and added a lot more detail afterwards. The hardest part of this whole illustration, or maybe the most time-consuming part, was definitely the room full of singers and musicians. It took me a long time to color everything just because it was kind of tiny, but I think it turned out really cute. I am really happy with how the girls turned out. I don't think any of their poses are too, like, stiff or anything, I guess. I think they just look pretty nice, but there we go. That's basically the full illustration. I just went ahead and cleaned up the lines on the outside a little bit, and then I finished everything up. So what do you guys think? I think it turned out pretty adorable. I know it's a little bit more warm tone than I had wanted it to be, but it was still inspired by a lot of the driving forces of my childhood, like Gem and the Holograms and Scott Pilgrim, and I would be lying to you if I said I wasn't jamming out to some Scott Pilgrim while drawing this. It was so fun. But would you guys want to be in a band with these girls? I think I would. They seem pretty chill. Thank you for putting up with me in my very first YouTube video. I know the lighting and the audio is pretty wonky. I don't have like fancy equipment or anything, so thank you so much for bearing with me on this journey of 642 things to draw.